Welcome everybody to Breaking the Rules, Vanderpump Ones. So glad to be back with you guys today. I am actually doing the VPR recap by myself this week. We are really heavy in the startup of his business, and so it's just been really crazy the last couple of weeks. My mom was in the hospital and we just had so much going on, and our son's about to ship out, and my husband, Nick, my usual co-host, is making a trip to Georgia to pick up the trailer for his truck adventure. And so just so much is going on. So you get me, but guess what? You also get a Tales of Deceit today. So please stay tuned till the end of the episode for probably one of the best Tales of Deceit I've ever known. It's a friend of mine, and oh man, her tale of deceit is so deep. Like, she was in the military and was overseas, and her husband had another woman. They ended up having a child together while she was overseas. It's just crazy. So you guys have to stick around for that. But let's jump into headlines. So Rachel is going rogue like crazy. She's went rogue twice this week. And she did one that was just like a little short, like 20-minute or something. And then she also did a new one today. I think it was chapter 15. I don't know. I've honestly lost count, if I'm being honest. I definitely feel like she's starting to get angry about what's being said on the VPR episodes, because you can tell by the tone of her voice and just the way she's like it's almost like she's spitting things out, like blah 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 blah. And so she did name them. She named them for us, and she went through a line of people that she said knew about the affair. Now here's the thing. They didn't really all know, though. Or at least she isn't positive that they all knew. She's positive that Kyle knew. She's positive that Tom Schwartz knew, which we already knew. She throws in Max because apparently they were going and meeting and going out to dinner with him, which I don't disagree. If he was meeting up with you guys at some like quiet spot so that you guys could have a friend with you, like, yeah, he knew what was going on. Max Boyens, by the way. Which we all knew he was trash. Nobody is like fanning over Max like, oh my gosh, please bring him back. He was trash. But then she threw in Logan, which is Ariana's best friend. And don't confuse him with the other Logan, the one that's best friends with Lala. So really what she said was they were having a party at the house and they were down in the social media room, which everybody went wild about. And the designer said that she made it I think she hit up Reality Ops and told her that she made it, for her to be able to do, for Ariana, and for her to be able to do brand deals inside of a room with great lighting and good backdrop and stuff like that. I mean, honestly, I would love to have a social media room. That would be amazing. I would just like to convert the room I'm in right now to a social media room. Where's my designer? Please hit me up. I would love a designer to do that for me. But anyway, they were apparently away from the party and cuddling on the floor. And he walked in on them and he was like, oh, whoa, wait, I'm messed up, and left. Well, if he's saying he's messed up, then he's clearly not going to take whatever he sees to heart, because he's going to think, oh my God, what if I was wrong? What if I say something and it wasn't what was going on? So I very seriously doubt if he was fucked up, he's going to repeat that to Ariana. He even though dropped Brad's name, and that was the weird, or she even dropped Brad's name, and that was the weird part about it, is that she didn't say he knew. She said that they were very close, and she couldn't imagine one of them knowing and not the other. Like, this is what I mean by you don't really even know that they were aware the affair was going on. But then you get into like her talking about the in-law conversation. First of all, she gave him permission. She gave Tom Sandoval permission to see other women while she was in that facility. She felt bad, and I'm air quoting right now. She felt bad because he's never really been single and able to get out and date. So she told him, you know, and she wasn't going to be able to fill his needs, which this just makes me think that, wow, the amount of pressure he put on her for how his needs were not fulfilled by Ariana and how she needed to do these certain things to keep him happy. At least that's what I feel from what's being said. So that was kind of jaw-dropping. But then she talked about going home with him to St. Louis, which honestly, I know the vibe in St. Louis. You're just friendly. You're just going to open up your home to someone. They're not going to tell her not to stay there. Like, it's just who they are. At least that's the way I feel. It's just who they are. They really are just welcoming. And I don't mean that in a bad way. Like, oh my God, they're welcoming of the other woman. I really do believe, and this is just from little tidbits, including this one, Rachel says that his mom told her that Ariana hadn't been there in years. This is where I have a problem. And I did put something on a caption and everybody was going wild about it. I was like, this is just off-putting to me. This and the fact that Katie was the same way with Tom Schwartz. Like, I remember her saying that it was a huge adjustment for her family because Schwartz went to every family holiday with her. So why didn't you go to his families for any holidays? Like, and why was Ariana at her grandmother's funeral by herself? You can make excuse after excuse about why he was not there. You can make excuse after excuse about why, you know, somebody else was not at your family's holiday. But that's bullshit. I'm sorry. If your relationship has any meaning whatsoever, you're supporting that person. And it's not just me. I did a poll. There was almost 1,000 people that voted on this poll today. And the results are 83% of you are supporting your partner and visiting the in-laws, regardless of whether you want to. So I'm just questioning what kind of relationship you truly have where he's going home every holiday or every time he needs to by himself and he has no support. And same for her. And then it turns around and it says the same thing for like Katie and Schwartz. Like, why is it always this way where these women are so domineering? Or like, and I say that, but then, you know, Ariana wasn't getting the support at her grandma's funeral. So it's almost both ways with them. It's just off-putting to me. It just means there is not a lot of communication and support in this relationship. It just was weird. Next up, we have Lala on a huge press tour. And it was funny because we were in a chat and they were like, why is Lala on a fucking press tour right now? Well, she just announced she's pregnant again. And ratings are a little bit less than what I think they expected them to be. So they're reaching right now. They just filmed a reunion. There's word of beef on the street between her and Ariana. So there's definitely a lot of talk about that in every interview she's doing. But she is saying a lot of like crazy shit. She was on Jeff Lewis Live and she said that Ariana should have taken a break from VPR. And the way that she explained it was, and Jeff Lewis jumped in too. He was like, you know, if you're going to agree to come back to reality TV after a tumultuous split up like that, and your partner is part of the cast, you're either going to agree to things or you're not. And if you're not going to agree to them, it's an ensemble cast. And everyone has to agree to these things. And everybody on the page is like, well, why doesn't Tom have to leave? Well, because that's not what the producers decided. And so it is the producer's decision as to who's a part of this cast. And it's not, like, it's really making it hard for the remainder of the cast to actually do what they need to do to make it interesting. And they're like, well, she doesn't have to film with him. Why would she be filming with him? She doesn't have to film with him. Like, to me, I don't want to hear them talk separately about the fact that she's not paying bills in the fucking after show. Like, I don't want to hear her side and his side where they're completely opposite. She's saying that he won't give her numbers and he's saying, you know, he's done everything he should. Like, this is the conversation we should see on camera. If you're going to agree to continue to be on reality TV, this is the shit you should be doing on camera. If not, you should take a break. And I know it's not a favorable opinion, but I do think that when it comes to delivering reality TV, there are some things that are good watch and some things that aren't. I want to watch them open a sandwich shop, you guys, as much as I want to watch paint fucking dry. Shit is boring as fuck. I mean, now once it's open and there's staff and they want to like make a show out of that, I would absolutely tune into that shit and check it out. But that's a different show. And so that's where I'm kind of coming from, in a place of either you come to the table and you do it the VPR way where you just talk about it and hash it out and be done with it, or you don't and you move on from VPR. So it is a little bit weird, and I'm completely behind her boundaries. She should be able to set those boundaries and she should be able to move on with her life. But you're not a part of the cast in which you're talking about the shit on the after show. He said versus she said. It's just stupid and a waste of my watch time, honestly, because it solves nothing. I don't know which one of them are telling the truth. You know, I don't trust either one of them at this point. And I'm not saying that I don't trust Ariana because, oh my God, they're the same, because they're not the same. But I feel like there's a lot being hidden and a lot coming out that was not a part of storylines or was never a part of what was being shown that really should have been. And so, you know, it just makes me think, like, I know you're hiding shit. Come out with it. Or get off my screen. And I guess I should say, speaking of the patron saint of scorned women, you guys are going to think I'm an Ariana hater. I'm totally not an Ariana hater. I'm just making jokes. She did purchase a home, so super congratulations to her. $1.6 million home in the Hollywood Hills. You can see the Hollywood sign from there. She got kind of angry when people were posting inside pics. I didn't really post a pic of it. I'm not into like giving you guys the play-by-play. I kind of count on my counterparts for that. The Bravo Investigator, Queen Bee Show, Vanderpod Recaps, Connection Queen, Reality Ops, you know, Nat, anybody that I can to deliver that kind of stuff to you guys. So I'll repost their stuff or share it on the story and Instagram when I can. I will say that I put up a post because at the premiere party, Jeremy Maddox showed up and had a little exchange with Tom Sandoval. Everybody got to see it. It was on the Pump Rules podcast, and shout out to Pump Rules podcast for getting that amazing interview with both of them at that time. So that was a great get, and it was at Jax's Studio City during that premiere and kind of crossover between both shows. It was an amazing crossover, by the way. Like, I'm loving every second of it. And basically what Jeremy said was that he hasn't heard from Ariana in a couple of months, so we'll see. He said he really feels like he needs to say some things that he hasn't been able to say to Tom, and he hopes to get that chance to sit down with him and have that conversation. And he said it depends on how long it takes Ariana to reach out to him as to, you know, when. And it was almost like a get. Like, I'm going to go on social media and call out to her. And this was gross, but I'm going to tell you, everybody bringing out his domestic violence now is fucking gross. Like, everybody's like, oh, well, he's a bad guy anyway. Okay, well, he's a bad guy that Ariana pushed on fucking female castmates. That is gross. So, regardless of their relationship now, which I could give a shit less about, I just thought it was interesting that he's choosing to move on from everything when everybody's riding a fine line on screen even having conversations with Tom, but he's ready to sit down and, you know, break bread with him and talk about what happened. So that's kind of why I was delivering. But I do think it's absolutely disgusting that now we bring that out. Like, he's a bad guy. 100% a shitty fucking guy. But he was a shitty guy when Ariana was pushing him down our fucking throats. And that kind of makes me angry. Like, stop for a second and start realizing when you're on TV that the people that you're pushing and making anybody a fan of, if they're a bad person, like, I'm gonna call you on that shit. Like, I don't want to push nasty men on America. Like, I don't want people to go and, you know, be like, oh my gosh, that's Ariana's brother. Wonder if he is as sweet as she is. I bet he is. Let me go on a date with him and then find out he is this abuser. So I just feel like that is like a very fine line for them to cross. And they need to make sure that they are backing the right people. And maybe that's why she's not backing him now. But say that and say, you know what? Hey, I came forward and, you know, I was backing my brother, but it seems like he only said the past couple of months. And his case took place in Florida years before he fled to California to live with her and, you know, get that second start. So she gave him the start after he did that. The last piece of, man, the news today is really down on, like, Katie and Ariana. I'm sorry, you guys. Blah. The last piece of news is that something about her is rumored to be popping up in ghost kitchens in major cities around the U.S. And if anybody's heard about Uber Eats ghost kitchens, it's basically like they could use like Applebee's or like your local sandwich shop and say they're selling you something about her. It's not going to taste like something about her, you guys. It's going to taste however they put those ingredients together. And they may not even use all the ingredients they ask for. So I'm feeling like if this takes place, this is a money grab and is disappointing, to say the least. Like, just disappointing. I don't know. Not a fan. But not a fan of that type of money grab. But let's jump into season 11, episode 8. Peaks and Valleys is the name of this episode. And they do their same old quick intro of everybody, and when it pans to Tom, he is getting the house all set up for his sexy singles pool party, and he did not name it this. Ariana did. I thought it was hilarious. So kudos to her for the comedic relief and naming this little get-together, this awkward get-together that he created. So Ariana is actually upstairs while he's getting ready, and she's FaceTiming Katie. She talks with Katie about the pool party that's going to be taking place downstairs. And then she asks her, you know, are you getting ready for your dinner with Lala? She tries to give her like a little pep talk where she tells her, you know, I really do think that you guys are going to come together and it's going to be a kumbaya and a wonderful dinner, which was probably a good prediction. Tom did say, you know, when she walks downstairs after that FaceTime, you know, it kind of seems like there's people there and they're like taking shots. Tom made it clear on his podcast that she was long gone before any guest arrived. So just very good editing by the producers to make it look that way. Katie and Lala do have a very super grown-up conversation when they sit down together. Lala does feel like Katie keeps coming for her almost in every instance. I do think it's more of Katie getting frustrated that Lala is trying to compare it to her situation every single time. And that does seem to be the theme with Lala this year, is comparing everything to everything around her to gain that softness. And I don't know that that's the best way to go about it. I feel like she needs to find an inner softness that doesn't have to do with a personal experience. And that may be the better place where she doesn't look so self-centered when she's coming in with an opinion. I don't know. Just a thought. She says that in her confessional, Lala says that she's on her road to a softer personality, but Katie, you know, there's still a bitter bitch era. And, you know, although they make up, Katie says she's sorry at this dinner and they make up and hug. Lala hit her stories this week and they were asking, you know, they've been beefing. I told you guys last week that Katie acted super surprised about what they were even beefing about before that sit down at Allie's astrology reading. So she's being very clueless. Well, Lala hit her stories, and when somebody asked why they were not getting along, she said, and this is, I quote, "I'm sure if I go back to being miserable, we'll be thick again real quick." That's pretty telling. And I think that it's definitely showing they did not end things well at the reunion either. So I hope it's not misinformation that she's fighting with Ariana and she's not just fighting with Katie, but I think that she may be fighting with both of them. You know, Katie knows she knows why she's fighting with her. And I can tell you that it did seem as if at that dinner, Katie was apologizing to Lala and Lala was accepting her apology. So whatever happened before then, I feel like Katie took responsibility for that. So you took responsibility for that in that moment, but you can't own it now? Oh, if I was Lala, I would be fucking pissed. So maybe that is why she's so angry right now. Just a thought on my perspective to just the little tidbits we've been seeing. The pool party begins. It doesn't take very long, though, for Schwartz to exit. He's trying to stay in that politically correct state, and he just doesn't feel comfortable that he is, like, schmoozing and bruising these new women in the same place that he cheated and lived in harmony with his ex and is now still living roommate situation. So he exits. He does tell Sandoval, and he's really nice about it. But that kind of makes Tom move over to Billy Lee, and Billy Lee is very, like, forthcoming. She immediately starts asking Sandoval about T, who is there. And we know that eventually she becomes a love interest of Sandoval during this season. I honestly feel like he was just looking for a love interest to kind of give him somebody to film with and give him somebody to be comfortable enough to walk in these rooms to film. These scenes, I'm sure, are not easy for him. So I think it's just like somebody on his arm with him or helping him out. But Billy immediately is like, how long are we going to go? How hard are we going to go? And Tom's like, yeah, I'm not going hard. Still got the roommate situation. And of course, right then, the wannabes start texting that they've arrived. And I'm going to call them wannabes because who the fuck is hitting Tom Sandoval up at Sir and being like, oh yeah, I want to come to you want to film and be on TV for your 5 minutes of fame. And let me tell you, ladies, you looked awkward as fuck. You did not look real. You looked like you were, like, it was like the worst Bambi-eyed bitch look I've ever seen. It was like a deer in the headlights. Like, where am I at? What am I doing? Oh my God, am I supposed to be doing this? Awkward. I'm gonna, poor Anne. That's all I can say. She was like serving people at this party. Is that like part of your job too, Anne? You have to fucking serve people at his fucking sexy singles pool party. This was so awkward. And he toasted with these girls, and Anne talked about this toast on her podcast. You guys know I like to throw in the tidbits from everybody's podcast. The toast was stay positive and test negative. And Anne gave the little tidbit that Schwartz and Sandoval used to end every cameo with that toast. And that Schwartz got to the point where he was like, this is uncomfortable, dude. I don't want to do this anymore, which is fucking hilarious that he had to say that. But I don't know. It was awkward. Him holding the Heineken like he's doing a commercial for them. I mean, he obviously has a deal with Heineken this season because he's like holding it underneath and like smiling with it beside of his face. I don't know. It was just super fucking weird. And he starts talking about, do you know I have a roommate with these girls and I slide potato chips under the door. Kristen said he's been using that same line since he was watching Tony Robbins DVDs back 16 years ago when she first met him. That's where he got all of his dating and pickup lines, was his Tony Robbins DVDs back in the late 90s. So funny. I have no words for how funny it made me giggle whenever he said that, or she said that, and then like throwing that in was just grandiose to do with those ladies in the pool, and they just weren't getting it. It immediately switches to the next day, and Anne is right back at it, cleaning up the same party that she was serving at the day before. And let me tell you guys, this is so disgusting. Like, he says in his confessional or even upstairs that, she's for light cleaning and she, picks up the things he doesn't. No one picked up anything at that party. There were wet towels everywhere on the floor. This is not good for those hardwood floors. Like, I was like ready to have a panic attack, OCD, lose my shit. I can't imagine. And I've heard a lot of stories that Ariana used to go around behind people during his parties and clean up. Now I know that for certain was the thing. And God love you, Ariana. Why would you do that? I would have been like, either you have your parties elsewhere or I'm fucking done with you. It's over. This is how he said it. What I can't get to, and cleans up. Bullshit. Sheena is actually on her way over to sit down and talk with Ariana, and when she does get there, she sits down and she's pretty honest with Ariana. She tells her that, she felt really slighted, and they do a couple of flashbacks where Lala's kind of pinning Ariana down, and then Lisa, and Ariana's like, should I have like breached my NDA? Well, you breached your NDA to tell Logan. You breached your NDA to tell your boyfriend. So, I mean, and this person is part of your cast and a best friend. So if you can't trust her, she's not your best friend. So stop saying that. I hate that she uses, or they use, best friend like it's a fucking charm bracelet or something. Like, my best friends, listen, you're going to get to see me talk to my best friend at the end of this episode for Tales of Deceit. Like, ride or fucking die for that bitch, man. I love her with all my heart, and nothing would stop me. I would know everything about her. I mean, she won a house from the... Sorry about that. Phone call came in. But she won a house from the Pittsburgh Steelers, and I knew when she was in the, like, interview stages. Like, she would have never kept that from me. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, either... And you girls know, like, anybody, and I say girls, like, I know we have some male listeners. Like, you listeners know, like, we are definitely telling our best friend our deepest, darkest secrets. So stop using that definition of Sheena for yourself, Ariana. It is obvious you two are no longer best friends. If you were at one point, you are not anymore. But it's funny watching Sheena get the courage to tell Ariana how she feels while holding Maya's hand, like she's a support dog. And then Sheena with her scenarios like, well, what if in 3 years Tom is doing really well and da-da-da-da, I'm asking for a friend. That's what I felt like it was. Like, I'm just asking for a friend. It switches to Schwartz and Joe, and if this is not a date, I do not know what fucking a date is anymore. Him and his confessional, I could marry her and be happy. Like, come on. This is a fucking date. They're at the Swan Lake paddleboarding, and I don't know. It's just fucking crazy. The one thing that made me laugh is, and this is a tidbit from the hubs when he's not here, he laughed so hard when she said she had a pet turtle, and that she put it on a leash. He was like, how the fuck you put a turtle on a leash? How you putting how you putting something around its neck when it puts its neck down inside of its shell? So I thought that was fucking hilarious whenever he threw that in. But I feel bad for Joe in this instance, because it does seem like she is quite more invested in him than what he is in her, and it doesn't seem like he is meaning that. It's just that he's not ready to make a decision at this moment. So I really do feel like he wants to keep her on the back burner, because she may be a good match for him if he doesn't find someone else. And I mean, I don't know whether I'd want to be that for someone, but if that's what she is wanting to be for him, then, I mean, that may be what she is comfortable with. So, the next scene is at the Belmont. Everybody is there, and it just made me so excited for a decision that Nick and I made, which is crazy. We made a decision that we're going to rent a house in Malibu next summer for a couple of months and just drive out there and live for a couple of months, have fun, go out, party a little, enjoy California for the summer, and then come back home and keep enjoying ourselves back home. I think it would be fun. I kind of threw it out there thinking there was no way he was going to agree to it. And he was like, hell yeah, I'll fucking go to California for a couple months. So, my job's remote and he's medically retired. So his new business is, I mean, we decide when he's going to work and when he's not. So we'll just free up his schedule for a couple of months during the summer and make sure that we have time to make ourselves go do that and have some fun. So I think probably 2025 is going to be our summer in Malibu. We looked at quite a few homes in Malibu, so I think that's where we're going to spend the summer in 2025.'re I know, but seeing them all at the Belmont, like hanging out, I was just like, oh my God, I saw that whenever I was there. I really wanted to go in and have drinks. We're only there one night, so I didn't have time to do anything else. And it's really great because everybody's there and Ariana shows up. He does a double take, like turns himself around standing up to watch her walk in, and that was unbelievable. It was great to watch. This is the kind of shit that we want to see, Ariana. Like, this is the shit that I'm talking about when I say I don't want to see you like separated and having these conversations with different people. This is the shit we tune in to watch, is him doing a double take and staring through everyone else to see you across the room because he knows he made the biggest fucking mistake of his life. That's what we want to see, honey. And she owns it. And Lala cracks me up. She's like, I can't believe how cool it is that, Ariana walked in with the same energy and air as Tom is giving. And it's the most, like, true statement of the entire episode. I did see immediately that Ariana and Kyle were talking. She seemed very uninterested in what he had to say. So in case you're listening, Kyle, I don't think she was very into that conversation. You can tell when she's faking listening or talking to someone. At least I can. What struck me as odd is they started the poop conversation. Sandoval, like, I have to poop. I'm sorry, but I am not doing a number 2 in a bar restroom or in a restaurant restroom unless it's a damn emergency. Like, I'm holding that shit in like I can die. There is no way I'm doing that. Sheena, Katie, Lala, Ariana, and Allie kind of head outside to sit down, and Allie tells them that she's going to read Joe's chart, and Katie just goes in hard. it just like, are you that jealous of her? I just don't get why you're so angry about her. She wasn't your friend. She was Kristen Doty's friend. You and Kristen Doty live down the hall and don't even talk. Like, I mean, you talk, but you don't talk regularly. So this was not somebody that you were friends with. And she caught feelings for him. So you live with that. And I feel like I'm agreeing with Sandoval here. Like, you're just looking for things wrong with every single person that he has any kind of feeling for. And if that's the case, why did you split up with him? It was your choice to end that marriage, but if you're going to be hostile and pissy about everything he does, I don't know. It's giving you a bad era. Like, your point on this season, I thought was going to be like, it was your era of I told you so, bitches. Like, that should be your era right now, Katie. Like, fresh, sexy, fun, I told you so, I'm right era. But not, I'm still pissed about the new people he's dating, and I gotta find something wrong with this one, and this one's weird, and this one gives me bad vibes, and just lay off. It's not worth it. It really isn't. The Ariana throwing in, you in danger, girl, like, you did that during this scene, and you also did it during your scene with Sheena. Like, are you trying to like, is there a new Ghost remake that I don't know about that you're trying to land the psychic role on? I'm so confused. I don't know. I guess I say the same things over and over again too, so I should just keep my damn mouth shut. Sheena does come over to talk with Schwartz and Sandoval, and she starts laying in on Sandoval about how he needs to look at how he may have hurt Rachel. Like, her trying to be the voice of reason for Rachel is just stupid. Shut up, Sheena. That should be a shirt. Shut up, Sheena. Damn. Somebody patent that shit. But why do I feel like Sheena is reaching so hard right now for a purpose in this new dynamic? Like, you're not the voice of reason, though. Like, do not try and take on that role, because that, honey, is not yours. He's not receptive to what she's saying, Sandoval, so he storms out and leaves the Belmont. It is pretty apparent that, and poor James is like, Sandoval, you can't just leave every single time. Like, no. Anyway, it switches really quick to the next day. Sheena and Brock are really still arguing about the same shit. We're 8 episodes in, and they're still arguing about whether to get a nanny, and they need a fucking schedule. This is what I mean by her reaching for a dynamic, or her reaching for a role in this new dynamic. Like, her family life is boring as fuck. Like, it is the same shit every single week. You're arguing about a schedule. Like, he's the one home with the kid. And he's bitching. She's like, we don't have a schedule. We don't have consistency. Okay, but the kid needs consistency. If you don't have consistency in that kid's life, you are going to regret that worse than anything you've ever regretted ever that you did, Sheena. So hang on to your hats, because that would be the worst scenario, is that kid at the end of all of this, if you don't give it some consistency and stability. He's home with the kid too, which really would piss me off. If I was the one that was the stay-at-home dad and trying to make that dynamic work, you would incorporate your schedule with what I was doing, and that's how that would work. And I would incorporate what I was doing with your schedule, and that's how that would work. It's not you make the decisions, and I feel like she really wears the pants because she's the breadwinner. And it is just gross. I mean, and my poor husband says I wear the pants in our family. He's always said that since the beginning. And he used to be the breadwinner for years and years. It's not the case anymore. The dynamic has changed for us. But I still, like, I don't even wear the pants. Like, I've never thought that. I won't even make a purchase over like $200 without having a conversation with him. So that tells me I'm really not the one wearing the pants. But I think that it is a communication thing. And so it means that you should be using both of your thoughts and feelings when making decisions. It does show that she's self-centered. And she does tell him about the Belmont and Ariana. He kind of feels sorry for Ariana in a sense that he thinks that when all the support is gone, she's going to feel like some way about it. But I'm telling you, there's a lot of things going on in the press right now, and I just feel like Ariana may not be as soft as what she's portraying, and that's about the best way I can say it. I think she is a little harder than what comes on. Ariana and Katie are getting ready for game night at the house. Ariana's going to host a game night there at the house, and Tom is upstairs. He says he's prioritizing the things that Sheena needs to be friends with him again, which I thought was the dumbest shit I've ever heard. Like, what secrets do you have on each other? Something is going awry here. Anyway, he comes downstairs and, or he tells Anne that he's coming downstairs. Anne texts Ariana. Ariana goes upstairs. Tom comes downstairs to make his shake, and he proceeds to apologize to Katie. I did feel like his apology to Katie was heartfelt in the moment. However, seeing his confessional and that the reason he's doing it is to, his road of redemption for Sheena, that is not a real apology. Either you want to do it and it's meaningful. If you do it for somebody else, it doesn't mean jack shit. But Katie is definitely she's not hearing it. She's like, to me, apologies are just words. The behavior has to change, or, it's not going to mean anything to her. I do feel like she is the one person that can shed light on this, and she does point that out. That, she made the decision, even though she loves somebody, that she wasn't happy in that relationship. So she made the decision to end it. And so I do feel like she does come from a point of knowing more about the better choice in that situation. So she can speak from a high horse in that scenario. So speak from it, Katie. Schwartz does show up, and he shows up to meet with Tom, and he catches Tom journaling, and he tries to connect. He's trying to connect with Rachel by journaling, by not drinking, all of these little things. I mean, it's over, buddy. It's so over. You need a new word for over, and you're milking the fact that it's over, and you're hurt for all it's worth. And Rachel even called him out on her podcast. She was like, do you notice that he always, he's crying against a window, or he's crying against the closet wall? It's never he's crying like tears roll down his face and he's having a conversation and getting real, because she says they're not real tears. I don't know if that's something she knows that he does. She didn't say that, but Schwartz does say that, he wants to bring him out of his funk, and he thinks the best way to do that is to bring in somebody who may know exactly what he's going through. Jax Taylor. Jason Kashi. The game night does take off, and I gotta say, the Never Have I Evers, the questions were really just, those were not the real questions. So I just felt like, unless it was a joke, it was really dumb, and they didn't make a joke out of it, so it was just really lame. So wasn't Rachel's response on her podcast, though, with the never have I ever put a ring on a string, never have I ever, I don't even remember what the other ones were. They were so bad, you guys. It, it's just, it was, it was distasteful. That's the way I'll say it. And just unneeded. It just, along with this game of Never Have I Ever. I mean, they could have played a fun game of Twister where they were like beating each other up and falling all over each other. It would have been more fun to me than hearing them. I don't know. Anyway, they did talk about a threesome with two dudes. Sheena brings up her threesome with Stacy, the bartender from the Hills, and John Mayer. That's who her threesome is. That was her Bodies of Wonderland, was Stacy from the Hills and her and John Mayer. And I believe there was another lady as well. There's even an interview bite on it that Christina dug up. So if you don't follow Christina, hit her up and watch that interview from like 2006 because it was fucking hilarious. The and Brock adds in that he had a threesome too back in his slutty San Diego days. Dinner with the guys. It is Sandoval, James, Schwartz, and Brock. And it's a quiet, very quiet dinner. They're just talking about shit. You know, they kind of touch on the Joe shit, and it's kind of simultaneous while Joe is getting her cards read from Allie. Allie's telling her that I see you guys as friends in the cards, and she's like making a face, and Allie's like, "Oh, well, wait, friends can turn into something else. Like, stop it. Be real with her. Tell her what you see. If you see something, tell her what you see. Don't tell her what she wants to hear. I hate people when they do that. Stop doing that." But you know, it's like the opposite. She's talking about how, you know, she really likes him and it could be something more. And then he's talking about Schwartz's at his dinner about how it's just a friend thing and da 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 da. And then in walks Jax. And he roasts Sandoval right off the bat. This is how they do their crossover going into the Valley, in which I'm so excited for you guys to join us for the Valley recap. The hubs will be on for that recap, so I'm really excited for that one. And can't wait to deliver it for you guys. But, you know, I mean, Jax, he lays into him, but he is really real with him about some of the shit that he's saying. He does tell him, you know, that if he would just humble himself a little bit, it would work wonders. He's not wrong. Humbling himself is what he's missing here. If he would humble himself, there's a lot of people that would give him a little bit of grace. And he just can't seem to do that. He thinks that he does, and he says that he does, but it's not coming across that way. So, I don't know. But the change in scene is Jax getting into his car. I mean, he does make amends with Sandoval at the end of the scene. You know, he tells him, you know, I'm here for you. He gives him a hug. He gets in his car and he heads on to the Valley. Thanks everybody for joining us. Can't wait to talk to you guys next week about season 11, episode 9. And stay tuned for Tales of Deceit. Tales of Deceit coming up right now. Okay, everybody. So we're here for Tales of Deceit this week. And I'm so excited to have one of my very best friends in the entire world on with us because, oh man, her tale of deceit is probably better than anybody's that has ever been on television. So,
I don't know.
so welcome to the show.
Hi. Um, yeah, but the weird thing is like further down the road, like he and I actually have a huge respect for each other.
You do. You
So
do.
I
It's
think that's kind
crazy.
of where
Yeah.
it's weird. And maybe slightly boring. Background though is that we do have a kid together. So we were forced to be in each other's lives regardless of the situation. So we just made the best of it. But yeah, I was pretty young when he and I married. I was 21. We had a kid when I was 23. I was in the military. By this point, I had already gone to Iraq once and had been in Peru for about 5 or 6 months, and came home and tried to get like back to normalcy. And he had other plans, I guess, or his normalcy was different than mine. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, he had a
Um,
normalcy that he was already working on while you were away. That was
yeah. He was already building a future somewhere else, and he still holds that future. They're together. They've been married for, I don't know, 15 years or so. This all happened back in like 2007-ish, 2006, 2007, somewhere around there. Um, so yeah, I don't know. Should I go into like how it transpired or?
yes, yes.
Okay, so I'm gonna try not to like go off um, on crazy different side streets about it and just give the minimum background needed because I could go on for like for days about it. Um, so my son, I'm gonna try not to use names either, but my son, he was probably a year and a half old, 2 years, about 2 or 3 years old. I was working at the hospital as a unit clerk on a trauma surgery floor, and I was working part time, um, but picking up extra hours for full time. So I would work any shift they would give me. So I was mostly on afternoon and midnight shift. So we didn't really even see each other a lot. Um, that and just having been gone to Iraq for a year and then Peru for 6 months, there was already like some tension and like I don't know. We just
Right.
it was already destined to fail, honestly. um, anyway, so I lived across the street from this volunteer fire department. We lived like down a gravel road outside of city limits. And there was a small little volunteer fire department there. Never really paid attention to these people. I am not one to be like, hey, new neighbor, or like, hey, I just moved here. Let's be friends. You do your thing. We did ours. It turns out well, I didn't directly work with this kid, but this kid that was a volunteer there worked at the hospital with me. And we saw each other in passing every once in a while. I didn't really know who he was until he told me that he worked at the fire department and welcome to the neighborhood. I'm like, okay, thanks. Nice to see you. So he worked in a different department. I saw him here and there, but um, he came to me one day when I came back from Peru. I was probably home maybe like 2 or 3 weeks, and he says, and I think he knew I had been gone. I kind of got the vibe he was like slightly interested in me, which is why I also sort of like kept my distance because he was sort of weird. But I think he knew I had been gone. But he came up to my desk. I was working midnight shift, and he came up to my desk and said, "Hey, I like your new car." And I was like, I don't have a new car. So, and he was like, there was like relief. He was like, oh, okay, okay. Well, honestly, I'm here to tell you, like, I didn't think that was your car, but I didn't know how to like, I didn't know how to tell you that there's like this different car in your driveway when you
That was a
when you go
really
to work.
stupid way. Just so you know, guy.
It
That was a
was
dumb way.
kind of, but like, I don't know. It was weird. It was very weird, but also like, I'm not mad that he told me, but it
Right.
was weird. But that was his way of like being like, hey, there's this different car in your yard, in your driveway. And I'm like, okay. So I'm like, what do I do with this? So I'm asking him like, what color, do you know who's driving it, blah, blah, blah. And he says he thinks it's a girl, but like, he doesn't want to like make like, absolute accusations because he doesn't really know. And he didn't talk to any of us like while we're at home, like even like seeing him while I'm mowing the yard or anything. Like, I didn't say hi to these people. So, um, anyway, he says, I said, okay. I said, I'll tell you what I want you to do. I said, this is my phone number. And I want you, next time you see this car at my house, I want you to text me or call me. And he was like, okay, all right. So I sat on this information for like 3 weeks. I
I
pretended
don't know
like
how you
everything
did
was,
that.
I don't either, but it kind of was easy, I think, because like we weren't home together very often. You know what I mean? Because I was afternoon shift. He worked day shift. So like at least a few days a week, I could play that off. And we were already kind of distanced because I had really distanced myself from a lot of things when I came home from Iraq, but um, I don't either. But during this time, I was getting on the phone records, checking all the phone numbers. I was driving to his work around the parking lot trying to find a car that fit this description. I was doing my detective work with what resources I had in 2005 and 6, which is a lot different than it is now. You know what I mean?
Right.
So there was no like Facebook stalking because that wasn't a thing. None of that. It was just like I was just doing whatever I could to find out who it was. I never really did, but fast forward a few weeks, and I'm getting ready to leave for work on midnight shift, and my ex had mowed the yard that day. He came in and took a shower, and this is at like 9 o'clock. He takes a shower. I didn't really think anything of it because he had mowed the yard and stuff. He cleaned the house, but I'm leaving and there's candles lit, and I'm like, this is kind of weird. And I already know like that this guy told me there's this car been shown up to my house. So I'm like, okay. So I left it when I'm supposed to leave for work, or when I generally do. The kids are in bed, and I drive down the road to this gas station, and I sit and wait for a car to pull down like my road. Because once you go down my road, there's the fire department in my house. There was a few houses up past this. Like, I never saw these houses because it was like one way in, one way out. I never needed to go past my house. So I'm like, if somebody drives down this road, I'm gonna
See them.
yeah. So I sat and I waited for like 15 or 20 minutes, maybe even 30. I don't know, but it got to the point where I was going to be late for work. I had texted my charge nurse and said, I'm going to be late tonight. I have to take care of something at home. It's really important. I'll explain when I get there, but I'm going to be late. And she said, okay, no problem. But then I started feeling like, okay, this isn't going to happen. It's been 30 minutes, whatever. I'm just going to go into work and see what happens. So he hadn't texted me that the car was there this night, actually, going back a little bit. I just had a feeling because of the candles and the clean house and all that stuff. So I drive into town. I'm like 15 minutes, my house like 15 minutes from work. I get into the parking lot, and I start to walk into the hospital doors, and that's when he texted and said, the car's at your house. And I'm like, shit, man, I just got here. So at this point, I run upstairs to my charge nurse and I said, hey, I'll be back. I got to go take care of this. I thought I wasn't going to need to. That's why I came in, but I got to. And she said, okay, is everything okay? I'm like, yes. Do you need to stay home tonight? Nope. I'll be back. So I get back in my car and I drive back to the house, and there's another car in my driveway. So I pull in to where like their cars are parked next to each other. I pull in behind them, like
So they can't get out.
sideways, so nobody can get out, because this chick is going to talk to me, or
Yeah.
whoever it is. I'm going to have an explanation. So I go in the house, and when you walk in the house, you walk in the living rooms on the left. There's a hallway to the right, and then if you get past the living room, our bedroom and the dining room is there. So I go towards the bedroom, and she's in there getting dressed, and she turns around, and her face is like, oh my gosh, like shit. And I know this girl. I'm like, okay, I know you. You've been to cookouts at my house with your husband, and we've been to concerts together. We're not friends, like we talk and hang out, but when there were group things going on, she was
You were
there with her
acquaintances.
husband.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm like, where's he at? And she just like gives me this blank stare. So, you can picture it. I'm sure I'm rampaging through the house, like, where the fuck are you? And he's in the bathroom, and his back is towards the door. He's like peeing, actually. And I open the door, and I don't think he realized it was me, because he was face of surprise too. At this point, she's running outside the house. And I'm
Thinks
like,
she's
you're
gonna
not
leave,
going
but she can't.
anywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And he was like, nothing, I can explain. I was like, there's nothing to explain, honestly. Like, you're caught. Now I'm gonna go speak with her for a second. I'll be back. And he's like, okay. He's following me, like hurrying up, getting dressed, following me around. And I go out, and she won't roll her window down. And I'm like, I'm not gonna like beat your ass, but I have questions, and you're going to answer them. And she's just like staring at me. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna give you two options right now. You're gonna roll your window down and talk to me for a minute, like the grown person that you are acting like you are, or I'm gonna put a fucking brick through your window, and you can talk to me that way. And she
Yes.
was like, so she cracked her window like a tiny bit. And I'm like, what is happening here? And she's like, I'm so sorry. And I said, no. First of all, like, all that shit aside, I said, my kids are in this house, and I want to know what your plan was if my son woke up in the middle of the night looking for his mom. And she's like, well, we locked the bedroom door. And I don't know why, but that just like went, not his bedroom door, their bedroom door.
Yeah,
That just like
infuriated.
went through me. And I was like, okay, does your husband know about this? And she was like, no. And I was like, he's going to in the morning. I'm just telling you. I'm going to give you the warning that you didn't give me. He will know about this in the morning because we all worked together. We all worked at the same place. I knew her husband and her track record, so I wasn't really surprised. But um, yeah, so I said, I'm going to pull my car out of here and I want you to get out of here. And I said, and don't ever come back here as long as I'm living in this house. I don't care what happens after. And I said, and if you see me at freaking Walmart 10 years from now, you better go the other way. And she was like, okay. So I moved my car and he's standing on the porch like, what are we gonna do about this, blah blah? And I was like, I'm going to work. So like you figure out what you need to do. Do not sleep in my bed, stay out of my room, get your shit together. I'm going to work. And I got in my car and went to work. I did throw my ring out into the middle of the field. And I was like, this is done. I'm done with this. Um, I'm going to work. I'll be home in the morning. And I went to work and told my charge nurse, I said this, I gave her the very brief story and she was like, oh my God. And I was like, so yeah, I'm here. Where do you want me to be? And I went to work and we ended up, obviously divorcing and they are now married.
They are
But
now married, but they also, like, the affair was extremely elaborate, like, went on for a very long time while you were deployed.
kind of, it kind of did. What happened was after that, I don't know how long they um, stayed talking or whatever they were doing. Um, we didn't talk about it after that. What we talked about is the fact that I was working part-time in a hospital for like $9 an hour and there was no way I was going to be able to like take care of myself and my kid yet. But I had my job lined up at Mylan already. They had a hiring freeze. So like I knew I had a job there and it was just a matter of a few months before they lifted the freeze and they would hire me. So that was like triple what I was making at the hospital. So I said, "Hey, I'm staying here until then. When I get that job, I'm getting my own place." We both moved out. We were renting the house anyway. But anyway, that's really the only thing we talked about. And he started dating another girl, actually. Her name was
Oh, I
freaking
remember this.
Stephanie. Yeah.
The
Why
crazy girl.
are the Stephanies that I know like just stupid? But but he started dating her. He moved out. They ended up like semi living together. I don't. But honestly, before I moved out of the house, towards the end, this girl was coming and staying at the house. This Stephanie girl, and I asked him not to. I knew they were dating because somebody told me. I don't remember who. It might have been Casey actually, because I think he took Stephanie to like a family Thanksgiving or something. And he had asked me prior to that, are we dating other people or whatever? I was like, well, I don't know why you're asking me this now. Like you you were already doing that. So like why would I say no now? Like what's stopping you now? And he was like, okay, fair enough, whatever. You don't have to be shitty about it. I'm like, well, I mean, it's honestly though, like, why are you asking me? So anyway, I said, the only thing I'm gonna ask you to do is not bring this person around my house or around the house or around my kids until we move out, like move separate ways. And he didn't abide by that either. Like she was staying the night every once in a while, and like her clothes would be on the floor in the closet. We had separate closets, but like I looked at shit. I went through shit after that. Like, and her stuff would be in the closet. She would like leave stuff in the bathroom just so that I knew like she was
Oh,
there.
yeah, I'm sure.
So I said, well, I want to meet this girl if she's so serious. Okay, well, we'll set something up. And she would not do it. So I went away to drill one weekend. I feel like I might be a sneaky bitch. I went away to drill one weekend and he told me that she was coming over and I was like, well, I don't appreciate that, but whatever. And I said, they're not letting us out till later. I'll be home around 6 or 7. They let us out at like 2. And I drove home, showed up at the house because she was there because I was like, this bitch is going to meet me. If she's going to be around my kids, she's going to meet me. So I showed up while she was there purposefully to like to meet her. And that's all I was going to do was say, hey. And she grabbed her shit, ran out of the house, and left before I could even say anything. Why would you do that? He was like, why would you do that? And I was like, because she is around my child. Like, not just occasionally at the park. She is in my child's home around my child. I want to meet her.
His
That's all I wanted
agenda
to
was
do.
totally unzipping his pants. Like that era for
Yeah.
him was unzipping his
Yeah.
pants.
Yeah. He was young too. And we weren't, honestly, like, fast forward all these years, and my relationship with him. He's a good dad. He's taken good care of my kid. We get along well. Our main focus has been our son, and that's all I could ask for. And the girl that he cheated with, they are together and married, and she has been good to my son. So at this point in my life, as like older, I look back and really that was like a blessing in disguise for me. But
It was 100% a blessing in disguise for you because there were way more happy years after that situation occurred.
yeah, and we're different people. It would have happened anyway. We're different people. We like different music. We like different hobbies. We like different things. Like, we were
Yeah,
young,
he looks
and it
like
was,
ZZ Top.
oh, dodge that
God
one, I
love him.
guess.
God love him because
Yeah,
he is he is your son's father, and I love him in that sense. But I think it was just the elaborateness for me, like the fact that they carried this on while you were gone. And I mean,
yeah,
there was a child that came out of all of this. She had a baby. She didn't even tell Rob that that
yeah,
was his kid. Like, she had a
yes,
baby in this affair and did not tell your ex that the baby was his
yes.
until it all blew up and she knew I guess, could safely divulge that secret. But it's just crazy to me that she went
Well,
through
she went
all of that.
to, yeah. Well, she went for child support, and he was like, I want a paternity test. So they had to do a paternity test. But the little girl was already two, I mean. But honestly, that day when I found that out, I thought, thank you, because um his family was kind of acting like, well, what would you do if your wife was gone all the time for the military and blah 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 blah. So making me like the bad guy. Well, of course he would do that. I'm like, well, people don't have to do that. And they were like, honestly, also acting like he didn't do anything at all. Like, they were like, we don't believe this. They didn't really believe that he had been having an affair or anything. So I was like, do the math on that baby. Just, I'm going to sit over here. You just do the math on that baby. And then if you got anything to say after that, come talk to me. And they shut up real freaking quick because the math was math in that day. And uh, it wasn't hard to deny anymore, or it wasn't, you couldn't deny it anymore. But yeah, so they weren't together at that point though. He
I think
they
that's like what brought them back together, though, was
it
finding out.
is
Yeah,
they started talking again, and I think that, like, in his mind, maybe, I'm sure it changed over the years, but I think in that initial moment he was already paying child support to his oldest daughter, which was a lot. He was paying her like 600 a month. He wasn't paying to me, but that's because um I declined it, and we just worked together on stuff. It wasn't a big deal to me. But I think he knew he was going to end up paying for this one, and was like, well, maybe I should just try to work things out. I think that's where his mind was at the time. I do think it's changed and that they care very much
yeah.
for each other now. But yeah, it was weird. And so I found that out right around when I was going back to Iraq the second time. So I was really upset. Like, I was like, great, this person's going to be in my kid's life like forever now. And I was really upset because it was still kind of, and I wasn't so much hurt about like the love when I found out they were together. I think
Betrayal.
because, yeah, and like the starting over and what am I going to do? Like, just being scared of being able to take care of a kid on my own if I had to. I didn't really have to because he was also taking care of Hunter. But we had everything separate. Like, I had my own house, my own place to live, my own bills, my own all that, and he didn't. Like, there was no child support given to me to support any of that, which was fine. I declined it because I got to a point where I could. But if I did need something, like, hey, Hunter needs shoes and I can't really do it with this paycheck, he would take care of that, and vice versa. But I think I was just mostly scared because we were already going two separate ways. I was already kind of like, it was almost like a relief, honestly, because now we can just, that was the nail in the coffin and we can just call it a day. Let's go. But yeah,
Well,
that
thank you
was
so
that.
much for coming and sharing. Like,
Of course.
I know it's not easy to like go back and relive these moments. I
Yeah.
felt like when I did mine, there were parts of it that I was like, oh my God, I totally forgot this happened. Like, totally forgot
Yeah.
how angry that made me. So I
Yeah.
appreciate you.
Yeah, no problem. Glad I could share. Love you. I'll see you tomorrow. Oh, I didn't know it would do that.
Yeah,
Does yours do that when I do that?
it does. You
Can
guys
they
were
see
talking
this?
about you do hearts and you do thumbs up, and the screen will actually like read it.
Oh, that's really cool. All right. Well, I'll see you tomorrow.
Thanks
Yeah.
for joining us.